are entering the take-up at Piece Together when the film is over. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and I'm here with my co-host and the managing editor of thetakeup.com, Andrew Wyatt. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Today we are processing Eaten Alive and The Funhouse, a couple of Tobe Hooper's movies. That is going to round out our cinema speculation program. It's my pick. We're going to get straight into those, and then we're going to talk about some hotly anticipated titles. Andrew and I are going to let you know what we're excited about for the rest of 2023. When she's under the house, Kyle Richards is under the house. That's the housewife's wife I was talking about.
Wait, back up.
Kayla.
Back up.
Eaten Alive. Right.
Who is under the house? The little girl?
That is Kyle Richards, who is Kim Richards' sister. So Kim Richards was a popular child actor, like a Disney actor, like a little less so than Haley Mills was to the 60s. Kim Richards was the 70s. She's from like Escape to Witch Mountain.
Okay.
So she was like a Disney kid. But Kyle Richards also was an actor, and she plays half, I want to say, in Halloween. And she is the actor who has returned to David Gordon Green's Halloween. But what's important to note about all of this is that they are both Real Housewives of Beverly Hills now. And
oh my God,
I
did not know this.
They are Hiltons by marriage. If Kayla were still here, she would be able to give us the whole story because
I need the map of this like series of connections. This is crazy.
You know, Beverly Hills series, because the two of them have like deep-seated, very family psychodrama that are like drugs and husbands and business dealings. It's not a lot of fun.
But it's just maybe it's just sort of mind-blowing to me now that like there is like one step removed from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. Just like they come from this.
We have
so weird.
Two bacons away. Like that's a really close proximity for things I did not think were related.
Yeah. Hi, we're here to discuss Tobe Hooper's 1976 film Eaten Alive as follow-up to the success of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Right? It has a yes, and chainsaw are separate words.
Yeah,
love it. That is my pick for our final film in the cinema speculation program. It's Quentin Tarantino's film memoir essay. The chapter this comes from is about the Funhouse. So we're actually, I know in previous episodes we said, I said I like Eaten Alive better. He talks about it enough. We're gonna do that. Actually, we think there's enough to talk about the Funhouse too. So Tobe Hooper fans rejoice. However many there are of you, I would put myself in that camp. What about you? Would you? Are you a fan generally?
I mean, of the things I've seen of his, I think I've seen sort of like the most popular stuff. I haven't seen his doesn't he do a chapter in Body Bags?
Yes, and it's not very good.
Okay, I haven't seen that. There's a couple others. They're sort of minor Hooper, I guess, but all the big ones I've seen.
So like essentially everything from Texas Chainsaw Massacre up through what, like Life Force or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Okay, I'm looking. Let me look at the filmography here so that I can be accurate about this.
Let's break it down.
So in letterbox order, and this is a vaguely related to popularity, I guess. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Poltergeist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Life Force, Salem's Lot, Funhouse. Body Bags would be the first thing of his. You know, he did a segment in that. I guess that would be the first thing his on this list I haven't seen. Eaten Alive, Invaders from Mars, The Mangler, Toolbox Murder. So that's the first thing I have. First feature I haven't seen is the Toolbox Murderers.
First one I haven't seen is The Mangler, and then I have seen
You haven't seen The Mangler?
No, and it's been on my list forever. Also, same with Toolbox Murderers. I have seen for the lower half, the only
Mm-hmm.
things I've seen are spontaneous combustion and his actual like debut feature, Eggshells.
I haven't seen that either.
I guess we would have been smart to watch this 2000 film called Crocodile, for the film that we were talking about today that involves a crocodile, not an alligator. The designation is important
Yeah.
to this film, or at least to this
Well, they
film's
repeat it over.
anti-hero.
They repeat it over and over again, and it's very important to the character. But does it substantively matter in the context of the film? Not really. It's a big hungry
Yeah,
mouth in a pit that eats
it is
people.
a puppet.
Yeah.
It is very clearly a puppet.
Yeah.
That's something I want to talk about too, because I think Toby Hooper, like, he is aware that that is very clearly a puppet. It's not like he's making, I mean, it is like a cheap Z grade movie, but it's clear that he has a little bit more money than he did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at least just looking at the cinematography of it, the number of people in the cast members.
Yeah.
So whether or not it's production related or intentional, whatever. I think it is kind of charming.
Is it?
No.
Is it really? Okay, so let me ask you. So why, when you decided to pick this film, and again, it's not a chapter heading film, but he has mentioned several times in the context of the Funhouse chapter. You had seen it already, so why did you think that this would be a good choice for us to talk about today? Is it anything related to Tarantino's discussion specifically, or you just thought it'd be fun to sort of end on a crazy Toby Hooper film?
More the latter than the former. I don't think Tarantino has much interesting to say about Eaten Alive.
Mm-hmm.
He has more interesting things to say about the Funhouse. Even though I think there are limitations there with what's actually going on in the Funhouse. I know last episode we said, or I said, can we not talk about Tarantino? It just, to me, like, as a working film critic, and we do this podcast, it's kind of clear that for some of these things, or at least it seems that he's working from memory for a lot of them, because there are some very obvious thematic big ideas happening in the Funhouse that
Mm-hmm.
seem to escape Tarantino, or he just sort of talks around. So we can talk about that, but no, like, okay. So looking at everything in cinema speculation, all the chapter headings, everything gives me a vibe. And I've
Mm-hmm.
already said that vibe smells like dirty gym socks. Well, these films were the ones that smelled like mummified dirty gyms, like from the garbage. So
uh
we've
sour
seen
sour funnel cake throw up is what I would.
yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, Andrew, that is too specific. Like, I can anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they
We
seem
do
like
want
the
to.
most wild choices I could make. And because, like, you're such a horror aficionado, I know you hate it when I call you an expert. I'm also a horror fan. And sometimes you and I kind of come at it from different angles.
Mhm.
And we've talked a little bit about Texas Chainsaw Massacre before. Like, it's just like a beacon, I think, for both of us.
Mhm.
So it seemed like fun. Now,
Was the movie actually fun?
now I
Kind of.
have I have fun with it. I had fun with it.
Okay, well, let's explain the plot, such as it is.
What plot? Okay, such as so Robert, no.
Neville Brand.
Neville Brand,
From
who,
okay, so
okay,
pause real fast here. Weird synchronicities to our last episode's discussion. Neville Brand, who starred in Riot and Cell Block 11, which we talked about last week
right.
as a Don Siegel film, prelude to Escape from Alcatraz. Anyway,
Right. Okay. So Neville Brand in Riot and Cell Block 11 is the like hot main muscle man, right?
mhm.
Well, he is not that in this film. He plays Judd, who is like hyper evangelical motel owner in the middle of the bayou, like literally in a swamp. It seems as if it's built on stilts.
Yeah,
Like,
it's at the edge of a bayou or something.
yeah. And off of a main road. And he has a few guests who show up, and he has his sort of main attraction there, if you would call it an attraction, is a killer crocodile.
Mhm.
Um,
It's what passes
but
for an attraction in rural Louisiana.
right, there are no signs about it. He's just
Yeah.
like, that's my croc. And it or early on, the distinguished thing about alligators versus crocodiles, he says, I don't know if this is true, is that
Mhm.
crocodiles are fast and alligators are slow.
Mhm.
And it is important because, as I brought up earlier, this thing moves very quickly when a human is in a crocodile costume and runs real fast in it.
Yeah.
Charming. So the film is kind of is vignette in having these episodic, I should say. In these people show up, they have an interaction of sorts with him, and he murders them. The through line is the first person that we see is played by Roberta Collins, who's like a great grindhouse actress. She's the one. She's in
Death Race 2000.
yeah, I'm thinking of the Jonathan Demme movie that's come up a couple times, Caged Heat.
Mhm.
Anyway, so she plays sex worker in this brothel run by Carolyn Jones in like, I don't understand what mom, like, zombie drag. Like,
Yeah,
what is
she's in
she?
some kind of weird makeup. I don't really know what's
And a
going on there.
fat suit and a Ringo Starr wig and like a gambler's visor. It is it is
She
it is
absolutely
very,
would have should have been playing Keno at the Indian Casino down the street. Like that's
but she's like, well, I'm just
yeah.
gonna hobble on over here. So, I don't know. Immediately, this film is up to something that Texas Chainsaw Massacre wasn't. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like a quote unquote grindhouse or dirty, drive-in sensation. And this one is very purposeful in doing all of that. He's like so dressed up in the way that people are costumed, in the colors that are deployed, in the
Mhm.
actual the settings themselves and the cinematography. It feels as if this is Toby Hooper's version of, I don't know, someone like Herschel Gordon Lewis doing a Douglas Sirk movie. It's like Written on the Wind plus Blood Feast equals
Those
Eaten
are not
Alive.
two things that ever really need to be juxtaposed.
Okay, but they did it. But it is so color coded, and it's like what Catherine was talking about a couple of episodes back, like a hillbilly movie, except these
Mhm.
hillbillies are ready to rape and murder and all that
Well,
stuff.
let me ask you. You described a couple minutes ago. You described Judd as an evangelical. I didn't necessarily get that um trait from him. He's clearly a veteran, and he's being presented as this sort of reactionary, but his reactionary qualities are colored by some clear mental illness, maybe related to his Vietnam service. Maybe like it's a little unclear, but I think I never got the aggressively churchy vibe from him. See, being somebody who grew up in the evangelical circles, I
Yeah,
never got that vibe from him. I just got a
I
sort of
get the
generic
vibe.
backwoods reactionary vibe.
That doesn't read like, snake handler. Like,
Maybe, but he
that's
never
what I'm.
specifically invokes. I don't remember if he specifically ever invokes like Jesus or God in his ranting.
It's because this is a performance, and I don't know if it's written this way, where he is essentially in two modes. He's either murmuring or yelling to the heavens.
Mhm.
And he does early on, whenever, as he seems to be activated by the knowledge that Roberta Collins is from the house of ill repute on the other side of town,
Right.
he does invoke God and Jesus Christ
Okay.
and
I
all of
couldn't
those things.
remember.
So that's kind of, and like the result of his ramblings and bullshit and his actions just feels very evangelical to me. And
Yeah.
that's probably me bringing a lot to it.
Well, I do think it matters that what's interesting about this film, and I don't know if this is part of the hillbilly genre or not, but so much of the we talked a little bit about this a couple episodes ago about the idea of Texas, like the extent of the political messaging or allegory inside Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I think what's interesting about this film is it's a lot more pronounced. Even maybe you don't even agree that. I think there was some discussion about whether that even really is a part of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think you can argue that it's a part of this, and specifically the way that everything outside of Judd and his little hotel motel there is presented as wicked, a wicked infiltrating
Vile.
force. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. So
but there's a
even
tension.
if he's not evangelical, he is this figure of great conservatism in
Mhm.
virtually every way, meaning of the word.
But the way it's structured is that, like you said, there's this episodic quality to it. Like I get the impression that Judd hasn't had an actual guest in some time, and then this one night, like half a dozen different guests show up all at once. It has that
Yeah.
kind of like what stars aligned and brought all these people together to this horrible place all at once. But there is that sense if you view the film from Judd's perspective, and I think the extent to which so much of the movie involves Neville Brand wandering around muttering, we're sort of in his head in this very mannered but I still think interesting performance he gives.
Oh yeah, of course.
Um, so much of the movie is sort of in his headspace and watching him react with increasing agitation to these people sort of pressing in on him from all sides. We do get the sense that this little shack, this little run tumble down hotel at the edge of the swamp, feels like sort of the last bastion, right? Like in his mind, this is the last untainted place, which begs the question of why do you open up a hotel? Like, why isn't he just sitting in a shack by himself? Why did he open up a hotel where people, the outside world, is by definition going to come in and invade
Well,
his space?
well, you get the idea that he's been there for a very long time. So
Right.
I'm sure a lot of this has developed as the kind of encroaching modernism is coming to him.
Right.
It's such a Hooper character, though. Talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, its sequel, and the father figure in those
Mm-hmm.
two films reminds me so much of this sort of rambling conservative loner hermit,
Mm-hmm.
who nevertheless has some sort of family built around him and is sort of like has a strong grasp on that family unit, and that's his modicum of control. And it's the same as the carnival barker in the Funhouse too,
Right.
who does the same thing. Like there's that scene in the Funhouse where he confronts the, I don't know what the character's name, the person with the Frankenstein mask, who's
Yeah.
then later
His
revealed
son.
to be much scarier underneath. It's that kind of same figure that he has throughout at
Yeah,
least
except
these
that
early
Judd
films.
doesn't really have a family
No,
other than his crocodile. Like
right,
that's the extent of his family is the
and
crocodile.
a monkey.
Yeah. There's also such a strange, I don't want to get bogged down into the plot details because I don't think plot is particularly relevant to
Mm,
this movie, but there's so many strange, it almost feels like a film that has a backstory that like Hooper wrote and
I know
then
what you
never
mean.
really conveyed to us. Like
Mhm.
there's clearly some kind of long-term antagonistic relationship between um Robert Englund's character, who's this sort of young, horny stud guy
Buck.
who frequents the cat house, and Judd. Like they have this weird antagonistic relationship where Robert Englund's character Buck brings girls to the hotel in protest of what Judd would want. He doesn't like the idea of him bringing whores or even like his girlfriends apparently to this place to have sex with them. It's such a like clearly there's history there, and there's so many other odd aspects of the human interactions, the character interactions in this film that suggest something very strange, but happening mostly off screen. They were only privy to this little bit we get in this. There's the whole thing with William Findlay's character, who is again, he's off in another dimension.
You know how I feel. So William Findlay's in both of these films, and he is literally a De Palma guy. Like they went through Sarah Lawrence together, and he's in his plays and in a lot of his films. But yes, the scene that you're talking about with Marilyn Burns from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and when they arrive and she has a wig on. You know what? I just love that you don't know, because I watched this with my boyfriend and I turned to him at one point and I said, wait, do we know why she had that wig on? Because it looks really fake. And they're acting like they're in extenuating circumstances and have like Janet Leigh in Psycho driven off the main road for a night of rest trying to get away from something. And they've got this kid with them too. But yes, so William Findlay, what does he do, Andrew?
I don't know what he's doing in this movie. He's off in his own dimension, but I think, and I'm not sure it even really fits with the rest of the movie, but nothing really fits in this movie, right? Like it's a movie cobbled together from just the far out components of like cast off Grindhouse bits, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Again, like one movie with either Neville Brand's performance or William Findlay's performance would be enough, but we get both of them doing like some wild stuff and suggesting, particularly with William Findlay, suggesting that like he was only a hop, skip, and a jump from turning into a serial killer himself when the croc finally eats him.
Yeah, he is acting as if he's coming off of some sort of prescription medication, and and at one point has a very stark freak out that is quite a bit of fun for me, at least. I don't know, there's something about him playing in this world of Grindhouse films that is a lot of fun to me, and that they all feel very like soap operatic in their whatever stories are telling. Like we're just showing up on Tuesday's episode,
right.
no one's filling us in.
It's a redneck soap opera.
If you were one of the millions of moviegoers who were electrified by the unbearable suspense and sheer terror of Jaws, get ready for Eaten Alive.
There's something about it, like that very nature of it, that is appealing to me because it is so strange. We should talk about the visual aspects of it too, that really suspend you in the weirdest space, because this house, you call it a shack, and by all appearances on the outside it is like shack, but when you go in, it looks maybe at one point this place had been a place maybe you would like to stay. But Tobe Hooper is so good, and especially in these early films that we're talking about this very specific like American aesthetic of like furniture from decades old, but that seem contemporary, but like you can just see layers of dust and like shit
other things
and grime on top of them.
That bathroom and that plastic shower curtain.
Oh my God. Like the level of care given to things like that. And possibly
is it care? Is it care, or is it just we found a grabby ass bathroom and decided to film there?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to get in that? I wouldn't want to work in that. But
there's you mentioned Americana, and there are little pieces that sort of struck my eye, which is like the bright red gumball machine on the counter. Like there are little pieces of how to put this? There are pieces of the Howard Johnson aesthetic
Mhm.
embedded awkwardly inside this decrepit horror house of horrors. Like it has that effect. But you talked about the visuals, and I wrote down my very short list of good things about Eaten Alive. The number one thing is color, visuals, De Palma, question mark, Argento, question mark. Like that's about the
Well, I think
extent
we'll have
how I
more.
developed it.
Yeah,
Developed it.
we'll have more to talk about De Palma and Argento once we move into the Funhouse, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a lot of that here, and that's where I'm talking about Herschel Gordon Lewis. This is a film that seems so indebted to those types of films that I think essentially it's recalling a grindhouse aesthetic to these political ends, films that, while they often deal with contemporary issues, don't necessarily have like an easily defined moral or ethical center to them. And I'm not saying that this one does, but I think it does often go to that well enough to I think successfully do what it seems as if to me he's trying to pull off and have playing in this world. um I I don't love this movie. I like it. I probably like it just as much as I like the Funhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't, as it turns out, I had seen the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things that kind of it left my memory. And now that we're
It's a
doing
short
it,
film.
this
It's only about
episode,
90 minutes, right?
okay, but here's the thing I don't like about it. This thing is pretty leisurely structured and paced. There's a point about
With lots of
45,
with about a lot of digressions.
a lot of digressions, which I'm typically very fine with, but there are a lot of digressions in a way that seem kind of repetitive and someone thought was funny, but it's not really funny. And if you cut like 10, 15 minutes out of this, I think it would be a lot leaner, and you would still get that sort of rambly episodic nature out of it. It's just I looked at my watch, like I checked my watch and was like, how 30 more minutes? Like what? Like
Yeah,
what
I
else are
mean,
you gonna do?
there's a meandering quality to it too. Like the father shows up with the sister trying to track down the missing girl,
Yeah.
and like they go to the hotel, but then they go to the police station, then they go to the cat house, and they go back.
Mhm.
Like they change cars twice.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of back and forth that seems unnecessary. There's an entire scene that takes place at the Roadhouse with Buck and some other random guys and girls at the pool table that doesn't even
Oh, I
seem
like
like
that.
it's
So
seem
that's the
like it's
scene that I
related.
really liked.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad scene, but it's so thinly related. Like all we needed to know was that Buck is coming back to the hotel with his latest piece.
It's
And
very long.
like,
But
so why do I need this like extended sequence at the Roadhouse that preludes that? I don't know.
a lot of exploitation films are working on like pleasure center. Like what is going to tickle that for you? What is going to work on you in that way? What is going to be interesting about, what is going to show your relationship to the thing on screen? And even though I think he's playing in this world and he quite often successfully does so, there's a lot of it is like, yeah, that the bar scene, that scene doesn't, and we go back to it. We cut away and go back to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like a 20-minute chunk of the movie because what's happening within it sometimes isn't that interesting. So
I mean, like if I wanted to see that, I could go to an actual Louisiana Roadhouse and see that exact same scene playing.
I watched Roadhouse for the first time yesterday.
Oh, really?
Like
You've never seen it before.
And now there are some things, some lines from Roadhouse that I'm very sure were actually in Eaten Alive and back and forth, but they kind of function in the same way. And that's a like,
well,
you're not a
no, I actually like Roadhouse. So.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formative film for a lot of reasons. But he's talked about like what exploitation films do to sort of titillate us or hit certain pleasure centers. You know what does not hit my pleasure center? Opening the movie with Robert Englund trying to sexually assault a woman.
And
like
then
that's what I knew, that like the icky factor was going to be high in this movie right out of the gate.
Well, there's a strain about women's bodies in this.
Mm-hmm.
And Toby Hooper has just a general interest in bodily autonomy and the way the body works, and even showing the body. But I'm not going to defend it. Like, I don't know that it has very much interesting to say about it. You run away from the assault, you run into the arms of someone who's also going to assault you, because like it's kind of a prison, being in a woman's body as a prison or something like that. It goes into like a man's idea of second wave feminism.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this never really stops being a scuzzy
No.
grindhouse film
No.
and becomes a political film in that sense. Like, there's female nudity in this film that is very obviously like sort of paraded out in the way that there was an expectation that we'd see a certain number of tits in a grindhouse film after a certain point, and it's all very sort of presentationally for the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Very male gazy, for lack of a better word. I do think that there's something interesting going on with who gets eaten by the crocodile, or who gets menaced by it. And there's this fascinating thing where Roberta Collins gets eaten first, right? But after her,
she's fed to it.
She's fed to it.
Yeah.
But after her, all the victims are men. And
yes,
you can argue that the men who get eaten are the particularly useless and or violent men.
Well, I guess now that you bring that out, now that I'm zooming out from the film and its little details, you're right. Like, after Roberta Collins, all of the women survive.
And there's a moment
all of the men die. Like, literally all of them.
The rest
die.
of the men in the cast, yeah.
Right.
There's a moment which I noticed enough to make me sit up and go, but I don't know that it amounts to anything. It's just an interesting detail. There's a moment where Kyle Richards, little Angie, is crawling around. There's a long sequence where they keep cutting back to it, where she's like crawling around underneath the house.
Yeah.
In the crawl
She's
space.
Down there for the last third of the movie.
Yeah, and just clearly crawling around in what looks like an actual crawl space covered with cobwebs and disgusting crap.
Gross.
Just kind of a mess down there. Poor little girl, like having to go down there and then having to fend off the crocodile puppet.
We should not have child actors. Look at how they turn out.
But there's a point, I think, right when Judd is like first chasing her, he chases her down there and then he tries to sort of get her out of there. When I thought to myself, like, okay, there's a certain kind of grindhouse movie that would absolutely kill a child.
Kill her.
Yep. And have the serial killer like catch her and kill her. And I was waiting to see like which way it would swing, like, because that tells you a lot about what kind of movie it is. And once she had survived for like more than 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, Andy's gonna live. And then that started to actually get my gears turning about like who is going to come out of this. And that's when I started to think, I think the women are going to make it. Like, other than the first kill, I think all the women are going to get out by the end. It doesn't feel right. Once the little girl lives, it sets like something in motion in my brain where I'm thinking, okay, the mom is probably going to live. And then the sister is probably the sister of the dead girl is probably going to live.
What's the one child kill in exploitation cinema that comes straight to your head?
Oh, I don't know. It's got to be something Italian, right? I don't know off the top of my head.
I think of the little girl with the ice cream cone in Assault on Precinct 13.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah. Does that count as an exploitation film?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? Okay.
Do you know who that is? That's
who the actress is? No.
That's Kim Richards.
Oh.
That's her sister.
The connections are like getting denser and denser. So we connect now to Carpenter, and wow.
So yeah, I'm more with you than I'm proposing. I guess there's a level of not even taste, but like, what do you find sort of pleasurable? What do you respond to? I respond to this kind of grimy playing in the dirt, like being suspended in a place where you don't know what's going to happen. And the kind of comedy that comes out of exploitation cinema, especially when these long stretches of scenes happen, because they're, I don't know, like, I'm more, the older I get, the more I respond to things like that. And this seems like Hooper's approximation of something Waters would like. It is not the actual thing. It is very clear to me like an approximation of the thing. And so I guess that's where it alters for me. And being sort of genuine with it, as if that matters, I guess.
I can't prove it, but a part of me does wonder about, as somebody who was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, I do wonder about this movie's very obvious parallels to the infamous 1966 film Manos Hands of Fate.
A film I have never seen. So
yeah.
You'd have to set me up on that one. I don't know the thing.
The plot is eerily similar. Okay. Down to particularly around the family, around Angie and her parents. Like, there's a nuclear family of 3 in Manos who get sort of sucked into a weird motel that seems to be run by Satanists. And there's a creepy caretaker who hobbles around and mutters to himself. Like, I don't think it's the kind of thing where, like, before Frank Conniff rescued Manos from obscurity back in the 90s and pulled it out of some bargain bin and said, hey, we should do this on Mystery Science Theater. Like, I don't know that anybody has ever actually seen this movie. It was financed by some fertilizer magnate out of Texas. But, like, I can't prove that Tobe Hooper of all people may have seen that movie and then 10 years later made this.
Yeah,
like there's enough plot. There's enough plot similarities, and also just the general vibe of scuzziness around both that film and Eaten Alive.
Yeah, this Eaten Alive is so scuzzy. It is like so gross,
and I think that's maybe why I didn't like it as much as you. I'm glad I saw it as a Hooper completionist. I'm glad I saw it, and I didn't not enjoy it. It's in spurts, but the bad parts of it are really bad for me. And the good parts are maybe better than I expected, but the bad parts are really bad, and sort of made me squirm in my seat and go, and not in a like, oh, I'm grossed out kind of way, more just like, why am I exposing my brain to this nonsense?
Because I picked it.
So yeah, I'm not sure I'll ever revisit it, but it's I'm glad I saw it. Let's put it that way.
So he makes Salem's Lot in between. Okay, but just very brief, whatever, one sentence, whatever, about Salem's Lot. I watched it for the first time a few years ago, found it very dull. Oh, so boring. Like so slavish to Stephen King's novel and the miniseries format. I just really wanted Hooper to go off the rails with it. And, it's television production, maybe wouldn't ever have been able to, but I agree with Tarantino here. It's a pass.
I liked it. I just recently watched the full version, 3-hour version of it, and liked it maybe way more than I thought I was going to. I absolutely do not begrudge anybody who says that it is slow and ponderous, and obviously neutered to sort of PG levels by the necessities of television. My take on that is that I don't think that gore is an essential aspect of a vampire film. For me, vampire films are more about imagery. You have to have a striking image, and
it does have that scene that is really indelible.
I would argue that it has a lot of stuff that's sort of very striking and visually and indelible. But I get the criticism. I guess it just doesn't bother me. I would argue that it's maybe as a cohesive whole, when you view the town as a whole, it's maybe the closest any adaptation I've seen has come to really capturing the Stephen King-ness of his interest in small town texture. And
and the novel, like northeastern Hamlet vibes.
Yeah, I mean, the novel literally spend some of its early stretches going like hour by hour through the daily routine of Salem's Lot. And this film does a pretty good job of conveying some sensibility there. I won't say it's the best like town or even the best character. Fred Gwynn's guy in Pet Sematary, I feel like, is the most perfect realization of a quintessential King character. But I grooved on the whole small town vibes, which is why the slow pace doesn't really bother me.
Sure.
I liked it a lot. It's one of those things, and everything that I could see criticizing this film for, or miniseries, I guess to say, two-parter, are things that I end up enjoying.
I will say that it is probably the best of the King TV miniseries, which
it's a low bar.
I believe I've seen all of them. Yeah, very low bar. So from that, he gets a bigger platform.
Who will dare to face the challenge of the Funhouse? Who is mad enough to enter that world of darkness?
Something is alive in the Funhouse. Something not alive like its father. Something better dead. Something.
This is a Universal film, even though it's a cheaper horror film, coming in the new wave of slashers that are
1981. It's sort of right in the sweet spot of we would generally regard as the heyday of the original heyday of the slashers. I mean, you can argue what's
Friday the 13th is like within 12 months of this. Halloween had been out for a couple of years already, so it does open with an homage. I'm assuming an homage of a few of what you would call
in the opening minutes. I caught references or rip-offs, or however you want to phrase it, to Black Christmas, Psycho, and Halloween, like in the first 2 minutes of this movie.
Well, I think it is intentional, because what ends up happening is as these teenagers and one little annoying brother end up going to this carnival in town and deciding to stay overnight, the film is kind of bifurcated into two parts, where it's just the slasher and the slasher / indictment of the slasher. Does that make sense? Because there's that shot in the middle of the Funhouse that's very notorious, the key going into the hand to the opposite, or beginning a touch of evil. This huge, ostentatious crane shot over this carnival.
Beautiful.
After that, it seems to me that he's really playing in territory where, like, these horror images are all very presentational, and you kind of get a peek behind the curtain where you're seeing, like, this is a death machine. This whole thing is a death machine. What you've sort of been titillated by before is now a way of murder.
Subtextually and textually at the climax, when our final girl finds herself in a sort of room of gears and pulleys and machines that is, ultimately ends up grinding the monstrous killer up in its teeth. But yeah, I don't want to overstate things too much, but I do think it's notable that, like, I didn't read any scholarship on the Funhouse other than Tarantino's book before I watched it. And as I was watching it, I was writing down, this is a movie about watching violence for funsies.
Yeah.
The Funhouse it's like right there in the title. And I don't want to overstate it, because I don't think that Hooper is the kind of film who, it's not funny games, right? Like, he's not being snotty and looking at you and winking. He's just making this a part of the fabric of the film. And I do think it's interesting that, like, the kills, when they happen, the bodies are then literally wheeled out as a part of the attraction to the surviving teens, like served up to them the same way they are being served up to us, the audience.
They are new corollaries to the performers that you see earlier in the carnival. It's like when you make a spectacle out of a human being, what's the result is it is a sort of taking away of agency. It is a sort of
Right.
death.
And like you said, we see that earlier. We see that in freak shows where, in this case, there's like a two-headed cow, but simply including a freak show of any kind, it puts us into the headspace where we're imagining human beings on display, right? Human beings being exploited for their appearance to shock and awe people. We get a girly show, and we get that titillation of peering in, not even seeing the girly show legitimately, paying a ticket, peering in through the holes in the back, which adds an extra layer of illicitness to an already illicit practice.
In the beginning, you get that point of view shot that is copped from Halloween, through a mask, and of course it's sort of upended because what you realize is that's her fucking brother. Like, what the fuck is happening there? So,
but Halloween has that same
spectator relationship.
That's literally what happens at the beginning of Halloween as well. We get not only we get a little brother peeping on his half-naked sister, or in this case, completely naked in the shower. And the actress at the time was 18 playing 17, which makes it extra scuzzy, I think.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's all of these kind of layers of implicating people for watching, right, which is something that I always respond to.
Even the midway games, I think, is part of that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love about this film is the way that the horror, there really nothing horror-y happens in the first 45 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
So much of the early part of the film is Hooper simply embedding us in the texture of that carnival environment.
In that family. Because that's what they feel like to me, like all of his families, whether they're found or literal families. Mm-hmm. Like that is the same figure that I'm talking about, is that carnival Barker. I keep using that term. I don't know what to call him.
Barker.
Who is exerts his control over less advantaged people. And in this circumstance is another Leatherface figure, another person with disability. Tobe Hooper seems to swim in this about disability, like someone much smarter. Like my boyfriend actually brought this up. We were watching Eaten Alive together, and he did not watch the Funhouse with me, so I'm going to tell him to, because he's taught in disability and fiction before. Mm-hmm. But he seems so interested in power dynamics between differently abled people. But this one kind of uses that as a gotcha when the Frankenstein monster, what's underneath is even worse.
Yeah.
So a lot of his ideas they don't feel necessarily thought out, but they are always sort of interested in coming up to the line of having a full thought. Often like myself.
I think the subtext is real. I just think it's maybe light subtext. I don't think it's emphatic all the way through. But there are other aspects there, like the midway games, I don't even know their freaking names, but Final Girl, Dumb Jock, Slutty Friend, Annoying Dweeb is what I call them.
One of them is Amy, I'm very sure.
Yeah, Amy is the final girl. Amy's the final.
Right, okay.
So her, not really her boyfriend, but the guy she's going on a date with for this carnival is this sort of beefcake athlete guy. I get the impression that maybe he's already done with high school and has moved on to languish not in college somewhere. I don't know.
In a gas station.
Yeah, at a gas station, right?
As her mother loves to point out.
But there's even that moment where he gets to perform and show off his physique and his strength at the midway games, which is itself a kind of putting his body on display for the benefit of the women. There's the obligatory crazy old lady who's sort of hovering around the margins of the
God
film.
is watching.
Yeah. Who keeps hissing, God is watching, he is watching. And I couldn't help, to my mind goes to the meta aspect of that. It's she's not really talking about God. She says he's watching. He's talking about us, the viewers, watching Amy be put through the ringer in this horrible situation and be terrorized and have all her friends killed for our own amusement. It's literally an amusement park.
Yeah.
A fun house in an amusement park or a carnival. So I don't know. It is
Well,
all
the
there. I don't
first
think I'm imagining any of this, but I don't think
no,
it's
no, I
necessarily.
saw it too. But the first half is very Hooper, and in what we've been talking about with Eaten Alive and Texas Chainsaw, like there are whole scenes with Sylvia Miles like giving a hand job,
The
and
magician, the
they're
strange
also
Dracula magician.
they're
Yeah.
peeping on that. You know who the magician is?
Hmm.
It's William Finley,
Oh yes, yes, I knew that. Okay,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it is like texture of this community and just character building, I guess you would call it.
And Hooper puts, I think the real intelligence to it is that Hooper puts, it's almost like he's heading the criticism off at the pass. He puts these teen characters into this movie, and particularly in the fortune teller scene, and then the scene where the teens go to the fortune teller first, and then the scene where they go to the magic act. They spend all their time sort of cynically snickering at what they're seeing, because anything that uses campy theatrics, whether it's the fortune teller or the magician, admittedly not, it doesn't have a very great stage presence, but they're just sort of snickering at the stupidity of it all, as if they're so far above it. Like that's why they went to these acts, to literally laugh at them, to make fun of the people who are trying to do something entertaining and mysterious. Like that feels like Hooper heading us off at the pass and saying, I got your number. Like I know that you're going to watch my movie and throw popcorn at the screen and guffaw to your friends about the stupid slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like, but that doesn't make you better just because you can sort of self-importantly snicker at it.
For me, I think all of this is actually very pronounced to the point where the horror trappings, actual genre trappings, aren't as fun or like you can implicate me, but you also need to show how the machine works. Like,
you don't think it does that?
The horror trappings need to work on their own terms in order for you to be able to implicate me in the enjoyment of them. I find the first 40 minutes to be very much like Eaten Alive, but by Universal Studios, and with like the Sylvia Miles and William Finley of it all. But then the second half of it, even when it is amped up, and like I love that climax with all those gears, and it's like, you know, this is the machine of filmmaking, and here's behind the curtain. It's ugly and awful, and I like that, but it's just not, it doesn't have Toby Hooper sort of really gross acidity.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I guess I do appreciate it as a slasher, quasi slasher. I think it's sort of lean in terms of the kills and what's going on in the funhouse. I have no idea what the subplot about the little brother is there for. That's like my biggest question mark about this movie. It literally peters out.
It is a very scary, it's one of the scariest things to me, in that someone being trapped and then like, you know, that someone who can save you is on the other side, and you try with all of your might to alert them and you cannot. That is like nightmare fuel for me.
And the way that he sound designs it, it seems completely improbable, because like the parents should hear, at least they should be able to hear the humming of those fans.
We've all
that sound deafening. That sound deafening to us, but yeah,
it would sound very weird and fun. But I mean, ultimately, yeah, you know, I think it's a really smart movie that's probably smarter than it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's kind of Hooper's thing to me. It's like, I think as I have rewatched these and more recently watched a couple of his other films for the first time, I think he's a little bit underrated. And I know that like the Fangoria crowds, they love him. He's a legend. He's an icon. He's the moment. Like, he's everything. I think a lot of people think of him as the
Texas
director
Chainsaw Massacre
behind one thing,
and the demi director of another big thing.
Right, yeah, who like the demi part I think is really important, is like that's the rub on his Poltergeist thing. And so this is an interesting middle ground between Eaten Alive and Poltergeist, because you can see in this is the first time he's working in a scope frame, a 235 frame. And
beginning in suburbia too, I think is interesting. I don't think we've seen that in Hooper previously, is that it begins in that suburban family milieu before we sort of go off into the night.
And the filmmaking in Poltergeist, as far as the classical filmmaking in Poltergeist, is really superb. And I will credit it to Tobe Hooper all day. I don't,
I'm not going to go down that line,
but
I'm not going to go down that road. I don't want to have that argument. I think that's a useless argument to have at this point.
It really is.
But I do think you're right in that Hooper, I think when Hooper's name gets brought up in sort of non-horror file circles, it's generally as TCM plus half a Poltergeist. Like that's what he's known for. And the rest of the filmography does tend to get overlooked or ignored for ill or will. I know we have differences of opinion about how effective TCM2 is.
I love that movie.
I'm not crazy about it. I do like Life Force for what it is. I'm a big fan.
Love Life Force.
I'm a big fan of his remake of Invaders from Mars, which I think I'm like the only person in the world who talks
also about. Like Invaders from Mars.
You like that movie too?
I think I like all of his films from the beginning up through Life Force. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Invaders from Mars is after that.
Yeah, that's 86.
Like I don't know. I think he just kept doing it really well, and he was a sharp satirist who also knew how to do what he was satiring.
Now I haven't seen Spontaneous Combustion, and you have, right?
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. That's about all you'll say about it.
It's fine. I would still like to catch up on a few things. There's a TV movie called I'm Dangerous Tonight that stars Mad Shannon Mick and Anthony Perkins, and it's about a killer dress, which sounds awfully familiar. Peter Strickland.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think he's someone, especially if you're inclined towards horror, that you should check out some of these lesser known efforts.
Yeah, I mean, again, having seen them recently, I think off the top of my head, Life Force, Salem's Lot, Funhouse, and Invaders from Mars. I don't think you can call yourself a horror fan until you at least take a run at those and see what you think of them. I concede that maybe not everything about any of those movies is necessarily everybody's taste, but I feel like they all do some important things in their own way. I was pleasantly surprised by the Funhouse. I guess I just didn't. I had low expectations for it and was pleasantly surprised by how interesting it is. I wrote down in my notes, Tobe Hooper's De Palma film.
I mean, it really is. Yeah. De Palma or Argento, Hitchcock was up to these things too. It's a really interesting film. Good pick, Quentin.
Good pick, Josh.
So that's going to wrap up Cinema Speculation. In the rules of the game, we're going to talk very different movies. New movies. Well, as we're recording this episode, Toronto Film Festival is starting in earnest, and Venice and Telluride are behind us. New York, I think we've got a few more weeks there, but we are in the start of awards season. But importantly, the start of the season where a lot of major filmmakers have new films coming out. I don't want to say off the top of my head, because we're going to go into a little list that we made of our most anticipated. Andrew's going to end up going first.
Oh, I am.
Because I feel like he's probably got at least one on his list that he knew for sure I would pick. Okay.
Well, I actually veered away from those.
Did you?
Yeah, things I thought Josh is going to have this, so I deliberately didn't pick them.
The ones I picked are very me.
Okay.
So they're really obvious. But
so
yeah,
maybe
okay.
So maybe there isn't much crossover.
Maybe not.
Okay, right, so we're just going to go back and forth here?
Yeah, let's go back and forth.
Okay,
do you want to start with one of yours?
Yeah, I'll go with probably my number one pick right now, actually. If I had to pick like the thing I would want to see ASAP, it's Jonathan Glazer's new film, long-awaited follow-up to Under the Skin, The Zone of Interest, which is his Holocaust movie. And sort of the log line of this, if you weren't following it out of Cannes, and the very intense and positive response that the film had out of Cannes. This is a movie about the Auschwitz death camp that takes place just outside the walls of the camp and never shows what's happening inside the camp. It's entirely about, I believe, the commandant to the camp and his family. And Glazer's sort of, I mean, like, it almost sounds like a gimmick, right? But because I think it's Jonathan Glazer, director of two of the most fascinating films of the 21st century, Birth and Under the Skin. I'm
so glad you said Birth.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess that's the only two. Because
yeah.
The other one's from the 90s, but
I can't wait to see. I mean, it seems weird to say I'm so enthusiastic about this Holocaust movie. It's probably the wrong tone to strike, but like, this is one of our most exciting filmmakers in any language, but in English language filmmakers in particular. He doesn't make many movies, and he's
that's the thing. It's like when he hits once a decade, he really fucking hits. So
yeah, it's old school Terrence Malick, not new Terrence Malick. Once in a blue moon.
When this one was announced, that's what worried me about it, is that, do we need more Holocaust cinema? And,
but I think
Holocaust aside, but this at least the setup of it is very different from anything.
I mean, it's not, again, it sounds like a gimmick, but like everything that I've heard out of Cannes makes it sound astonishing, and I'm really eager to see him return to the cinema.
I know it is based on a celebrated novel of the same name that supposedly doesn't share a lot of DNA with, but I trust at this
Under the
point,
Skin was kind of the same way. Like it only very loosely adapted.
I am down for Jonathan Glazer loosely adapting anything.
Okay, so what's if you had to pick, like,
so if I had to pick something that I have to see immediately, exactly what it is. It is May December. Todd Haynes' new film starring Natalie Portman as an actress who is about to play a woman who went through a very big scandal, and that's played by Julianne Moore. And so as a relationship unfolds, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting ideas about semiotics.
Do I have my understanding of this right? It's like she's in the house to study her.
Yes.
Or like brush up on the history.
Is visiting her because she's about to play her in a film.
Okay. Psychosexual weirdness begins.
There is an infamous case that many of you are going to be familiar with that the couple is based on. So I won't get too in depth with that. But Todd Haynes is my guy.
Yeah,
that's my dude.
And coming to Netflix, oddly enough.
Yeah, that's what's worrying me about it, is what Netflix, whose theatrical release strategy seems to change year to year. Last year did not seem like they were in favor. Now Academy's put some new rules in where they need to play in more markets. So that tells me that there's a good chance that things like this, Pablo Larraín, few other films that Netflix has might actually be seen on big screens in more places. And then will be available to anyone with a Netflix subscription in December. So from Cannes to premiering in December, that is May, December. Oh, wow. Did they do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Actually, it's November. Sorry. Just kidding.
You mentioned Pablo Larraín.
Is that
so? Yeah. So also on my list is his latest film, which sounds very different from many of his recent films. El Conde, which from the description is a black comedy horror film about Augusto Pinochet, who is in this film a vampire, centuries old vampire. Do I have that right? Is that the log line of this movie?
Sorry if I'm jumping ahead a bit, but don't you think he's been working towards this? Like the lineage of Jackie to Spencer being sort of suspended in this serio-comic horror territory. And then something like this, it just kind of makes sense that he would take Pinochet and make him a vampire, literally.
I mean, this feels like, a Terry Gilliam premise or something. It's so out there. Like, it's just which just makes me more excited. Like, if he was doing sort of a third film in the triptych of Jackie and Spencer, which I believe he is doing I think so, another
an
opera singer or something.
Maria Callas.
Maria Callas, that's right.
Yep.
But this is so different from that. I get what you're saying though about there maybe is a horror thread working its way through. But the mood of those films is so so specific. I can't imagine projecting it onto like a vampire movie. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna work. I don't know.
The movie Spencer gives the most is The Shining.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But it's maybe like, and also weirdly the movie where the vampire movie is somehow going to end up feeling more politically pointed than the movie about JFK's assassination. Like it's him returning to South America, returning in terms of setting and characters, doing something a little bit closer to home, a little more politically pointed, I think. I'm eager to see what it does. One of my favorite films from the last couple of years is a Guatemalan film called La Llorona, which sort of recontextualizes the famous Latin American folk myth about La Llorona in the context of the Guatemalan Civil War and anti-native genocide, and which is not like a formula that I would have thought would have worked that well, but it's a spectacular film. So I kind of view this through that same lens. Like I want to see him analyzing right-wing dictatorship through the lens of the vampire film. I want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, getting interesting reviews so far.
Yeah.
But
what about what's next for you?
So next for me is another wow surprise, because it is on the heels of me recommending the work of Frederick Wiseman. Frederick, and I already mentioned this film on this podcast. Wiseman, in about around the 90s, he's been living in France for a while, and so started to make quite a few films about Crazy Horses, about the great dance, the erotic bar in Paris, and he's done about. But this is about a 3-star Michelin restaurant in France, and it's called Menu Plaisir le
You're braver. You're attempting it, which is something I wouldn't even do.
Menu Plaisir le Trois. So something like that. It's about a restaurant and it's 4 hours long. It's a Frederick Wiseman movie about a restaurant and it's 4 hours long. Yeah, I want to see that.
I'm down
right now. So
I'm down.
What's your next one?
No other explanation needed.
Nope.
I'm going to go a little bit farther afield from the big names, I think, and highlight one that I'm a director that I'm really interested in. Warwick Thornton, who's an Australian filmmaker. I think he has a few credits to his name. Probably his sort of breakout film was a film called Samson and Delilah, about Aboriginal peoples, kind of a romantic drama / road movie. The film that really brought him to my radar was a revisionist Western he made a few years ago called Sweet Country, that just really blew me away. Sort of a gritty Australian revisionist Western, sort of in the meat pie Western genre of Australia, but doing its own revisionist take, focusing on an Aboriginal man as its main character and the way he's sort of tossed to and fro by this community when he's accused of something, and this community kind of gets caught up in this strange witch hunt. It's a really fascinating film, and it's a fascinating film specifically coming from an Aboriginal native filmmaker. He's got a new film that, again, sort of defies description. I believe it was, I want to say that it was at, I don't know if it was at Cannes, maybe it was at Berlin. A new film called The New Boy, which is about an Aboriginal boy, a young Aboriginal boy, like 9 or 10 years old or something, who's orphaned and goes to live at a Catholic-run orphanage under the tutelage of like this very severe nun. And while he's there, he exhibits these sort of supernatural abilities, which may be related to his Aboriginal heritage, but then those abilities also start to evolve and change into Christian supernatural abilities with Christian iconography, performing miracles,
This
stigmata,
sounds right up your alley, sir.
bleeding wounds. It's not a horror film, from what I can tell. It's just presented as a straight drama, which is almost makes it more interesting. I don't know that it even has distribution yet, so maybe this is a bad recommendation before we know.
Well, you couched 2 other recommendations in it that sound fascinating to me, so
yeah,
I'm totally down for this.
yeah, and like music by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis. I mean, that alone sort of gets me interested right away.
Well, you kind of buried the lead there, bro.
Yeah. Kate Blanchett, I believe, has a minor role in it. If you need more,
Very cool.
The New Boy by Warwick Thornton. Excited for that one.
I'm gonna go overseas with my next pick too.
Okay.
It is not the new film by Hamaguchi, because that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Evil does not exist.
I left that one off.
Yeah. I'm going with Bertrand Bonello's latest film called The Beast, which is a like futuristic thriller starring Léa Seydoux and who to do George McKay. And like, so Bonello most recently made a film called Coma, which was his sort of like a fantastical diary film about his daughter that we don't think has distribution in the States yet. But before that made Zombie Child, Nocturama, Saint Laurent, and House of Tolerance.
Weird, exciting movies.
He is a strange, very sensual filmmaker who's interested in politics, and I'm just always very excited by any film he makes. And they're films that are like little trinkets, hall of mirrors, and you've got to enter them completely free of bias. And once you do, they unfold in the most fascinating of ways. And even something like a biopic that he made about Yves Saint Laurent is fascinating. Yeah, I'm just fucking stoked. People seem to be high as a kite for this thing. So whatever it is, bring it on. And
I love Zombie Child and Nocturama, so I'm excited to see what he does next.
I'm sure he has very optimistic ideas about the future. So,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No criticisms of contemporary French society whatsoever.
Well, like we mentioned a few other things, like Hamaguchi's Evil Does Not Exist, which has been picked up and will play here. Same distributor, Drive My Car. So we know we'll get to see that one. What else did you have on yours?
Hirokazu Koreeda has a new film, Monster, which is his first film in a while that wasn't written by him, adapted from a novel, I believe. I don't know much about that one other than it's sort of a revisiting events from multiple characters' perspectives, or providing different perspectives
about
on events.
Bully, in a school, and I know a little bit too much about it. That's been spoiled for me, but I am also very interested.
The Cannes Palme d'Or winner, About Dry Grasses, by the Turkish director. I'm going to mangle the name. I'm sorry to our Turkish and Turkish American listeners in advance. Nuri Bilge Ceylan. I don't know if I said that right.
Nuri Bilge Ceylan is
Bilge. Okay.
Well, no, that didn't win the Palm.
Oh, it didn't?
No.
It went Grand Prix?
Yeah, one of those. Because what won the Palm? Come on.
Okay, my mistake. Look,
Did
right
you
out of the
see
gate.
What won?
Right
Anatomy of a Fall.
If
Anatomy of a Fall is a great one that I'm excited to see too. Sandra Hüller getting a lot of like best actress buzz for that one. Tony Ardman, and various other films and TV shows too. So
About Dry Grasses is one that I'm like, every time I revisit a Ceylan film, I'm always just sort of blown away by his storytelling ability and his sort of like his ability to weave together like different characters in this sort of tapestry of humanism and dramatic conflicts, but keeping them always very rooted in human emotions. His last film, Wild Pear Tree, was very excellent, or maybe that was 2 films ago, but the last one I saw and really enjoyed it. So eager to see what he does next.
Yeah, there's a ton of shit. Like it feels like too much at this point, like because it's almost October
Mhm.
and it seems like I'm learning about a new film every day that I need to see.
I feel like
And
Venice added a lot to my list. I mean,
Venice did.
we
Yeah.
didn't mention Poor Things, Lathamos' new movie, which of course
Yeah,
is a
they
hit and
don't need
miss.
our help.
Yeah, he doesn't need our
It's going to be a very exciting fall. Right. We got one more thing of all the things we just recommended.
Sure.
We got one more. All right. Every episode, we round out with one more thing, giving you our socials and where to find us all over the internet. Andrew, you want to go first this time?
Sure. Like a lot of nerdy video gamer types, I've spent the last few weeks thoroughly embedded inside Larian Studios' latest epic computer RPG, Baldur's Gate 3.
You know,
What?
I'm so sick of this Baldur's Gate. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Stop talking about Baldur's Gate.
Wait a minute. I have not talked to anybody you know about this. I
know, but everybody else. And I'm like, I don't know how to work the controller, so I am not in your culture.
Well,
anyway,
there you go.
Baldur's
There's your
Gate,
first problem. There's your first problem. You're playing it with a controller and not with a mouse and keyboard. So already you're a poser. Okay.
I have to go. No, tell me what's good. Tell me what's good about it.
So this is a 20 plus year sequel in the making, a sequel to the I believe it's 1998 computer RPG from BioWare, and it's follow-up Baldur's Gate 2. So this is much later, a completely different studio. This is Larian Studios, who created the Divinity Original Sin games, and I believe sort of got the job because of from Wizards of the Coast, the owners of the Dungeons and Dragons licensing. Because of that, this is a full-throated adaptation of the 5th edition of the Dungeons and Dragons rule set for the purposes of sort of translated into a computer as much to the greatest extent that they can be. The tabletop rules have been translated, set in the Forgotten Realms, which is sort of the most famous Dungeons and Dragons setting. A lot of people, like, it's a game that people have been raving about. It's been that I've been playing nonstop for about 2 or 3 weeks now. It's excellent. I mean, it has a 97 on Metacritic, which I think makes it tied with Zelda Breath of the Wild as the greatest game of all time, if you believe Metacritic. Rave reviews across the board. A lot of people, like, actually, there's been some backlash, and not in terms of people saying it's not good, but in terms of other video game developers being visibly terrified by how far the bar has been raised by the production values and level of care that has gone into this game. That's like we can't do this ever again. Nobody can do this. But of course, it has been done. I would say that if you don't need to know anything else about the Forgotten Realms, the previous Baldur's Gate games. You don't even really need to know the Dungeons and Dragons rule set to sort of dive into it, but it is a complicated game designed for people who love crunchy computer RPGs. I will say that I think one of the reasons it's boomed so much is that it satisfies both people who love sort of tactical, crunchy rules combat. It's a turn-based rules game. It's not like real-time action game. It's everybody takes one turn at a time to play out these combats, much like the pen and paper game. So it gets this like subset of super nerdy math min-maxers over here. It's also an incredibly horny game with a lot of character interaction and a lot of dialogue and role-playing opportunities. So it gets like the theater contingent over here, and those two crossing has created this very dense Venn diagram and turned it into like the most popular game on Steam right now.
I am both of those things.
Oh.
I am very like math puzzle fun and also horny theater kid.
Yeah.
But that's the first words that you've said that I've understood, which has made me feel, and that I even said that thing old people say.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It sounds great, Andrew.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm older than you, and I'm enjoying it. So
that doesn't make me feel better. No, it doesn't.
As somebody who played the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on launch, that's how fucking old I am. Okay, so anyway, available now on Steam, GOG, and PlayStation 5, I believe.
What the fuck is GOG?
it's like Steam. It's another platform service for downloading and installing PC games.
Okay. And I know it's definitely
Xbox,
on PS5.
PS5, Xbox support supposedly coming before the end of the year. Great game. Can't recommend it enough. You can find me on Letterboxd at AWyatt76, where I'm puking up my thoughts on the latest Toby Hooper's filmography recently. And you can also find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, a couple other places. And you can find all my writings on the takeup.com. Although you won't be seeing many reviews from me for the rest of the year, I'm taking kind of a sabbatical on long form reviews right now to work on something else. But I'll be back come January. And in the meantime, there'll still be lots of posts incoming from Kayla and other folks.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm Joshua Ray. You can find me on the take-up.com at the Take Up STL reviews on KMOV. Please like, share, subscribe, rate, whatever you got to do. Get people listening to this.
Do we want to talk about the next series?
Whoa, wait. I have one. Whoa. One more thing. My one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Banana pudding. Like.
Whoa.
But let me hold on.
Back up.
Let me tell you, this city
Mm-hmm.
for a southern city.
It's not a southern
Which,
city.
yes, I know. But the way it defines itself,
Mm-hmm.
where's the banana pudding?
Warming under
you?
the salad bar lights at Wendy's.
Right.
I don't know.
You're right.
I just dated myself there.
But I did have a piece of cheesecake from Patty's Cheesecake at the Foundry after or before something at the Alamo. That was a banana pudding cheesecake. That's my recommendation. However,
I feel like
I'm
going
to go in there and it's gone because you people.
I feel like I'm going to go into a diabetic coma just hearing about this. It sounds
Do you not like
a lot.
banana pudding?
No, I do. I just, I can't eat cheesecake or pudding or anything with sugar anymore. So,
Oh, you're right. But hey, you could do sugar-free vanilla pudding.
yeah.
You could do low sodium, low fat vanilla wafers.
I'm also lactose intolerant.
Jesus Christ. We'll make it with oat milk. I don't know.
It actually sounds great. It actually sounds great. But
yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah, someone bring me banana pudding.
Yes. Yeah, now with the vanilla wafers in arranged around the edges.
And if you don't put enough vanilla wafers in there, I will know who you are. I'll know deep in your soul that you're not a good person.
What kind of monster would not include vanilla wafers?
Yeah. Like the bananas you're about to throw away, those are good for banana pudding.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm at Crispy Retinas somewhere. Google it. Okay, let's talk about our next series. Our next series is this is a good transition episode for that because we are going to do a horror series timed just for fall. But because we always need to be specific, it's queer horror. It's something we've kind of had on our target for a while. So we're going to have some really great guests. We've got some ideas reaching back into the history of cinema and maybe some newer things. And it'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that.
We're going to stretch. We're going to stretch the definition of queer horror to all kinds of weird places.
Queer is such an encompassing term that I don't think we'll have a problem. Maybe I'll do Mommy Dearest.
Oh.
Horror, that is elevated Oscar buzz horror.
The funniest movie ever made, according to John Waters.
Oh, Johnny. Yeah, but that's going to be a really exciting series for us to do and get us in the mood for Halloween spooky season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, until then, we're going to thank Jessica Pierce, our editor, Kayla McCullough for our social media, our partners over at Cinema St. Louis. You can check out the High Point and see what films they are showing there. cinemastlouis.org. And yeah, until then, bye, sisters.